Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Sarah. I know it's been a while. I haven't been posting too many videos. I have another creative kind of tutorial today, although it's kind of also a first impressions. So today I'm going to be doing some iron on vinyl, which I have had videos of that before, but normally when I do a heat transfer vinyl, I use a regular household iron. I think I have like a $20 iron from Canadian Tire. But today I'm going to be trying something new that I haven't tried before, and that is using a heat press for heat transfer vinyl. I was sent this heat press from HTVRONT, which I think stands for Really Outstanding Never Temporary. They asked if I wanted to try this, and I said yes. They also sent me a couple rolls of vinyl. So I'm going to try this out and see how it compares to a regular iron, because I'm sure it should do a better job, a faster job probably. And I'm also going to try doing 2 layers of vinyl. I have never tried that before, but I've seen it being done on YouTube and I think it looks really cool. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to create a canvas bag with some lettering on it, and I'm going to show you how it all goes. This will be my first time using it. So first, let's unbox this and I'll show you what's inside. Okay, so I'm kind of lazy and not gonna put this on a table. I'm gonna try and just open it here. All right, so right off the bat, we have a manual, and it looks like there's a canvas bag. Here is the heat transfer machine. Ugh. So this is the heat press. So this is the iron part, I guess, obviously. And then I suppose this is where it maybe sits on when not in use. So first of all, I created some artwork on my iPad Pro using Procreate, and then I brought it into Illustrator to vectorize that. I have videos in case you want to know how to do that. And then of course my next step is using my Cricut to cut out the vinyl. I'm cutting out 2 different layers. So this first one is the background layer and it is in red, and then the second one is going to be the letters, which I am doing in pink. One quick little reminder that I tend to forget a lot is to remember to turn mirror on in Cricut so that it cuts backwards, and then that way when you lay it down on your fabric, it is the right way. Okay, so here's my black canvas bag. I am going to first use my iron and then try the heat press after. Just an FYI, I am using 2 different canvas bags because that's just what I had. So for the iron, I'm using a thinner canvas bag. I'm not sure if it's 100% cotton. So it will have an easier time of doing the application. And then for the heat press, I'm using a much heavier cotton canvas bag. But after I do the iron and then the heat press, I am going to try a smaller design using the heat press on both of these style of bags so you can see the difference. So with the iron, I think the most annoying thing is that it only covers such a small area. So you do have to press down and then move over. And I did have to test it a few times at some corners and had to apply more heat because some corners peeled up. I think it's also because this is such a large piece of vinyl iron-on. Normally I do smaller, like letters, but this was huge and you had to make sure you just got every single corner, which is a little trickier to do when you have a smaller iron rather than a heat press. But I'm able to iron on this with the iron, which I expected because I generally use the iron anyways. And now I'm going to try the second layer. I've never done vinyl on top of vinyl, so I wasn't sure how it turned out. But actually ironing the second layer onto the vinyl bottom layer was easier than I expected. It irons on pretty easily and doesn't take as much effort as the first layer. So this one did go by quicker. When I use the iron, I tend to drag it, which I don't know if you're supposed to do that, if you're just supposed to hold it in place and then move it. So I do both. And then I usually take my cloth and then just kind of push it in and kind of burnish it a little bit just to let it cool down a little bit, and then I will peel away the protective plastic film. So that turned out pretty good. I was really happy. I think the 2 layers looks really nice. It's pretty seamless, and it's hard to tell that it's actually like layered on top of each other. I did create kind of a little bit of a burn mark, which you'll see in a second. I think it's just harder to control the iron because of the temperature. Mine doesn't have a temperature setting. Ignore the piece of hair, but you can see the burn mark there in the bottom. All right, so now I'm gonna try the heat press. This is the manual. It's just telling you to turn it on, and then you can set the temperature. I wasn't sure what temperature to use because I've never had to set my temperature of my iron before. I just turned it on. So I quickly Googled the best temperature for heat transfer vinyl, and the website said 315 degrees Fahrenheit. So I did set that to 315 and gave that a try. So it's nice that you can set the temperature, and there's also a timer to make sure that you take it off when it's ready. Also, it gets to the temperature pretty quickly, which is nice. I had set the timer for 20 seconds to start with because that's, I think, what was recommended, and just gave that a try, but it wasn't long enough or hot enough, I think, especially for how thick this canvas bag is. It has a very thick cotton weave. You can actually see the texture of the weave, so it's not super flat like the other bag. So I'm just doing my first test and peeling it away, but you can see it didn't stick. So I'm just trying to show you how thick and textured this cotton bag is. You'll see the other one later, a little bit closer view. So I decided to up the temperature to 360 and also change my timer to 35 seconds to see if that helps. So I'm checking the corners again. There was one corner here, the top right one, that just didn't seem to stick. I'm not sure if you guys have any tips of when the best time is to peel it. I even tried putting the heat press over just the plastic layer, which I'm always very, very scared to do. So you can see like the other corners are fine. I eventually did get the top right one to stick down. Again, I do want to mention that this canvas bag is very thick and just might be a tricky material to work with. So I'm not sure if increasing the heat even more would have helped. I think maybe it could have. But I did get it eventually to stick, and when I peeled away the protective layer, the finish or the press was really nice and even. So I think I like that a little bit more over the iron because I can do more space more consistently, or more surface area more consistently. And I can also monitor my temperature and pressure settings so that once I do get it right, I can always try it again and make sure to get the exact same results. With the second layer of vinyl with the letters, again, it was much easier. I just had to try it just like one time, and it just adhered to the bottom layer much easier than the cotton canvas layer. You can see how the red kind of turned a darker red from where the heat press was. This kind of made me a bit nervous, but that just went away once it cooled down. So I'm peeling off the protective layer of the letters, and you can see that they turned out really nicely, and I'm really happy with the way that this bag looked. Even though it's a little bit harder because the canvas is thicker, the bag is just way nicer. So I think the patience needed, or maybe if I would just try a hotter temperature, it's definitely worth the results. So here are the two side by side. The left one is the thinner bag with the iron, and the one on the right is the thicker bag with the heat press. So you can see this texture from the thick bag come through the vinyl, which I think actually looks really nice. It looks like the vinyl is part of the fabric, and that was done with the heat press. And then this is the side done with the iron. It was a much flatter texture, so it didn't have that weave, so it just looks flatter. But since it was a thinner material, you can see kind of how it looks like it crinkles like paper a little bit. So I think when you're doing such a large piece of vinyl, it's better to have a thicker material because it kind of is sturdy enough for it. Okay, so here I'm testing out the heat press on the 2 different weights of bags. So this first one is the thicker bag, and I'm using the same heart design on both. So you'll see after I did 35 seconds at 360 degrees that when I started to peel from the bottom, portions of the heart kind of lifted off. So it didn't stick with just one try. You can see a close-up view here when I peel it away, how some of the edges come up. And again, I just don't think I have the right heat setting for this thick of a canvas bag. So the whole thing didn't come up, but parts of it did. I ended up just going over it again with the heat press without the protective layer, just to make sure that it is like fully sealed in. I also found that if I just took my cloth and pressed down on the vinyl while it's hot, it kind of melts into the material. So now I'm going to try the thinner bag. This one has a much flatter texture, but it's just not as nice of a bag because it's so thin. So I'm doing the same thing, 35 seconds at the same temperature, just one time. And you can see this one was much better results. The vinyl stuck the first time when I peeled off the protective layer. So basically, I just wanted to point out that it is more the material than the press because it worked well for the lighter material, and obviously you just needed a different setting for the thicker material. So here's a quick close-up so you can see the difference in the materials and actually like how the finishes go. So I think actually the vinyl looks so nice on this thicker material because you can see the texture below it. And this thinner material, even though it was easier to iron on, the end product just isn't as nice. Okay, so I'm just going to give you my final thoughts while I model my bag off to you. If you have an iron, you can definitely do heat transfer with your home iron. It works well. It's just not as convenient as a press. With a press, you can just get more surface area. This press that I used specifically did 10 inches by 10 inches. So if you have something small for a shirt, you can just get it done in one press rather than having to move your iron all over the place. You can also make sure to note down the perfect settings that you use so you get it right every time. I haven't used the Cricut press, so I can't say which one's better, but this one is quite a bit cheaper and has about the same surface area and has pretty much the same settings, and is also a ceramic coated heat plate. So I hope you enjoyed that little first impressions of the iron. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, or if you have any suggestions on creating projects like this. I love hearing your tips and tricks. They always are super helpful, and I will see you next time.